And there we have it, the visiting vehicle officer here in Houston reporting the search and recovery forces have reported touchdown. There you see the central screen in Kazakhstan, or in the Russian Mission Control Center, reporting they have landed. Hopefully we'll get some video soon from the Russian forces down there on the ground. Again, that landing time right at around 10:25 p.m. Central, being confirmed by search and recovery forces on the ground in Kazakhstan. At this point, the search and recovery forces were still preparing to extract the crew. You can see them off to the right there, building the extraction stand that gets fitted over the top of the Soyuz craft, which this time happened to land upright. Not uncommon for the craft to also land on its side, but in this case it did land upright. There the stand constructed.
Rotate it, please. A little more, turn it around a little more. A bit more. Turn around a bit more. The hatch is opening. Where do we put it to? Attention. Hold him. Central seat.
Now you see Oleg Kotov being removed from the central seat of the Soyuz craft, the first one out, carried over to his chair waiting by the search and recovery forces.
Back into the chair.
And Kotov was in the center seat of the descent module, the commander of the Soyuz craft during its descent for all of stages from undocking all the way through landing. Next out was Sergei Ryazanskiy, another Russian cosmonaut, going down the retrieval slide there into the waiting arms of the Russian recovery forces. Ryazanskiy was the board engineer on the Soyuz craft, and he was seated in the left seat to Kotov's left inside of the Soyuz, and he was responsible for backing up Kotov throughout all of the operations for tonight's landing.
118/77.
Ryazanskiy wrapping up his first space flight. Was a rookie back in September, but a rookie no more, having 166 days spent in space now. And then last but not least, getting out of the Soyuz craft, NASA astronaut Mike Hopkins.
He's there.
You can see him coming down off the Soyuz craft and being carried over to his waiting seat. Big smile on his face. Mike Hopkins also completing his first space flight.
Move over here.
But again, as you can see, all the crew in good spirits, despite landing in pretty frozen conditions out there in Kazakhstan. The temperature in the single digits are right around 0 Fahrenheit for these recovery forces. As much as 6 inches of snow on the ground. You can see making getting around a little bit more difficult than usual, but this has kind of been the norm for quite a few landings in the March time frame in Kazakhstan. The crews well exercised and well able to adapt to these conditions to safely retrieve the crew from their Soyuz vehicle. Soyuz itself able to land very rugged spacecraft, launching and landing in fairly unusual conditions, high wind, precipitation, snow, and low visibility. Right now, continuing to bring you live video from the landing site of the Soyuz TMA-10M vehicle. Oleg Kotov on screen now, commander of that Soyuz craft and commander of Expedition 38, safely out of the capsule along with Mike Hopkins and Sergei Rosansky. The three completing their descent in their Soyuz craft. Throughout this evening, the vehicle not having any issues. The search and recovery forces overcoming some weather issues to get there and get the crew out safely. So the flight surgeons continuing to take some vital signs quickly from the crew members after they've been successfully extracted from their Soyuz craft. The crew should only be remaining here at the landing site for a brief amount of time before they're loaded back up to head to the forward staging point of Karaganda, where the rest of the search and recovery forces and NASA personnel, along with Roscosmos personnel, will be waiting for them.
That's normal. Yeah. Michael. Сереж.
Michael, Sergey.
Before moving on to their respective home bases, Kotov and Rosansky heading back to the Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center in Star City, Russia. Mike Hopkins bound for the Johnson Space Center here in Houston, Texas. As you can tell just from the helicopters taking off, visibility and snow conditions pretty rough out there in central Kazakhstan right now in the month of March. The recovery forces combating temperatures in the single digits Fahrenheit, which earlier this morning Central Time, or late yesterday evening Kazakh time, caused many of the recovery forces to turn back from their forward staging point when ice was starting to form on the helicopters.